Welcome to Dinner for Two, the podcast where real conversations are on the menu. I'm Stanley.
And I'm Kathy.
So we invite you to pull up a chair and join us for honest, heartfelt, and sometimes hilarious conversations about marriage, life, and everything in between.
Just like a late night dinner, this is the place where nothing is off limits. Every story matters. You always leave with something to think about. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's talk. This is Dinner for Two.
All right, so today we're going to blast off into a new topic. This week we're going to talk about trending couple/marriage topics. And so we're going to allow you to tap into some of those topics right now.
Well, yes, I will. I definitely want to do that. So we're going to talk just really quickly about some of the trending topics that will be coming up in our series. We're starting a new series today, and that series is around time, touch, and togetherness. That's the name of the series. The series, not the seriousness. That's the name of the series.
But it is serious.
But it is serious. Yeah. So it is kind of the seriousness of the topic. So we're talking about time, touch, and togetherness. And what we really want to talk about in that space is what are you doing with the minutes that you have in your day? What are you doing with the touches that you have in your hands? What are you doing with the things that you think about all day? What are you doing that impacts your marriage with your time and with your touch? And how is that fueling your togetherness? So during this series, and I think it's kind of 3 episodes, maybe 3 or 4 episodes in this series.
At least 3.
At least 3. So we're going to start with, let me just start by talking about some of the things we will be talking about throughout the series so you can make sure you stay tuned. One is weaponized incompetence. Now, weaponized incompetence is defined easily. I'll make it very basic. Pretend you don't know how to do something so you don't have to do it. And that is one of those things that really tears down a marriage because it helps to build resentment. It's when a partner pretends that they're clueless to dodge any either domestic or relational responsibilities. And right now that is trending on all of the social media platforms. Everyone is talking about this weaponized incompetence. And when we say weaponized, we're talking about using it against the person that you're supposed to be in partnership with.
Okay. All right. That sounds like that'll be interesting.
That will be. The next one is phubbing.
Never heard of that one.
I figured you were going to say that. Phubbing is a mashup between phone and snubbing. So what you're doing when you hear it is phubbing, and phubbing is being able to it really describes the act of your partner where they are so engaged in their phone that they may be sitting in the room with you and they may pretend that, or they may give the impression that they're present, but they're not. They're focused on something on their phone. Games. If not the game, then some sort of, maybe they're reading something, a lot into listening to a podcast or listening to other things, and just it pulling away time from what you should be doing or being present. It makes it difficult to be present. So that's what phubbing is.
It's just a modern day version of watching the TV and doing something else,
I guess. Yeah, I guess. So the next one is the 3-hour night. Now, the 3-hour night is popular now, and we're going to talk about that one, I think, throughout these because it's part of that check-in that we talk about all the time. And the 3-hour night is where you give yourself 3 hours at the end of the evening so that everything that you feel is important can be dealt with. So without anything feeling neglected or whatever. So we'll talk more about what that 3-hour night looks like. But that's giving yourself 3 hours at the end of the night. And it's been reported to really be a game changer in relationships when you schedule that time at the end of the night. No, it's not 3 hours talking to each other. So relax, calm down. We'll talk about it when we get to the episode. But calm down. It's not 3 hours sitting there staring at each other. That's not what we're saying. But there is a process for it. And we'll talk about it when we get to that episode. The next one is princess treatment.
Okay.
You don't want to say anything about that?
Well, I mean, I don't consider that princess treatment. It says a social debate about women expecting heightened chivalry, pampering, or luxury in a relationship.
Agreed.
Tied to empowerment versus entitlement. And I just think it just depends on your age. For me, that's not princess treatment. That's the way it should be done.
Agreed.
So
I
it just
agree.
depends.
I agree. That's the way it should be done. I appreciate that. Absolutely. What I will say is there is a lot of conversation now around whether that's considered princess treatment when you are having a conversation with the person that you're in relationship with and they have standards or expectations, and the debate around it is that, are you asking too much? Do you think you're a princess, or are you in a situation where you can accept less than that and you should be okay with it? And that's kind of the debate. I think when we're talking about things as simple as chivalry, or we're talking about things as simple as being kind to each other or opening doors, I do think a lot of that stuff has gone away, but I don't think it should have gone away.
Right.
So
Agreed.
just because it has doesn't mean that it's good.
Well, that one ought to be interesting.
Right. So we'll talk about that a little bit more once we get there. This one, sleep divorce.
Yeah. That's
another huge one that's up right now. A lot of people are talking about sleep divorce. And sleep divorce is, we're cool all day, but I'm going over here to go to sleep. You going over there to go to sleep. We can't sleep together.
If he never got that sleep apnea machine and he's snoring and you can't get no rest,
yes,
that makes
Lord.
perfect sense.
Yes, Lord.
Yeah.
Yes, Lord. Or if he's argumentative and you're trying to rest, or if there is no peace and you need to take a moment and you need to put your head down. And there's a lot of controversy around that because people are saying, no, stay in the bedroom, stay together, just go to bed mad and fighting every night until you work it out. And others are saying, it's okay for you to take a moment, or for you to just decide it's not maybe healthy for you, or maybe you don't rest well when you're together, those kind of things. And there's some other stuff that's underlying to that, but we'll talk about that when we get to the sleep divorce segment, when we start talking about that in one of these episodes. I can't even remember which one it's in, but it's definitely in one of them.
Okay.
And then the last one?
Arbitrary versaries.
Yeah, so arbitrary versaries are one of those things that is a fun thing that we're talking about right now, and that is celebrating quirky milestones, like little personal milestones, like the first time we did a road trip or the first binge watch or whatever. And then some people are saying that puts too much pressure on the relationship because now I got to try to remember when was the first time we went on a road trip.
Don't do it.
Or when I need to do that, or when did this happen, or just going down those roads. So sometimes, but we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to that. When we get to that. So now let's talk about today's topic. Let's get into time. Time ain't just ticking; it's telling.
Okay, so we're going to set the table for this episode.
Let's do it.
So every day, everybody gets 86,400 seconds.
Every day.
Every day. So the question is, how are you investing that time?
Mm-hmm.
And time is a test. It tells the truth about what our priorities are.
Yeah. So you're right. Everyone gets the same 86,400 seconds out of the day.
Yes.
That sounds like a lot, but we've just cost ourselves a few just right here in this conversation. And one of the things that I like to help people remember is that time is not something that you get back. That is one of the things. You can make more money. You can, improve your health over time. There are lots of things that you can do over time, but one thing you can't do is replace the seconds and the time, the minutes seconds that have turned into minutes and minutes that have turned into hours and et cetera. So why is it so important? If time is the truest test of your value, what does your time reveal about how much you value yourself and how much you value the people around you?
Well, that's what we've been talking about over the last few days, is that you don't have to say anything because the time is going to show what you value. It's going to illustrate what you consider to be important in your relationship. Because what you consider to be important, you spend time doing. So that's why I think that whole subject about phubbing, that's going to be interesting. That'll be really interesting. And then the whole princess thing, that'll be interesting too. But anyway, I digress. The value you spend on something really illustrates the priority that it has in your life.
It does. So when we're talking about time, though, and how much time that you're giving into your relationships, what are some ways that you can misuse time? And I love an acronym, so we're going to give you an acronym for time.
Right.
So one of the things that helps you misuse time, I want you to figure out Time thieves are those distractions,
Mhm.
are those things that come into your day, like work, social media, emails, strolling and scrolling. I love to say both of those.
Mhm.
And doing those things as opposed to putting the time on something else that you consider to be more important.
Right.
So if you wake up in the morning and you get on your phone and go to social media before you, I always say touch your spouse before you touch your phone. And so if you have not done that,
Mhm.
where's your priority?
Right.
Where's your priority?
And that's why you call them time thieves.
Yep.
Because a thief is not going to let you know that they're showing up. It's not going to tell you I'll be there at 8 o'clock to rob your house. And so you wake up in the morning and out of routine, which we talked about routines and rituals before, out of routine, you reach over and grab the phone. And now you're 30 minutes late because you spent the last 30 minutes scrolling through things that have robbed your time
Right.
first thing in the morning.
Right.
So yeah, that's a good title.
Yes.
Time thieves.
Time thieves. So that's your T.
Yeah.
And I want you to realize these things when we're talking about stealing from you, I want you to be mindful that we're talking about how time is misused in a relationship sometimes. Because we can think about what then could we have been doing with that time.
Absolutely.
And I don't want you to think about it in a way that you go back and say, okay, what could I have been doing? Oh, woe is me. Now I can't get it right. Yes, you can. Start tomorrow.
Yes.
Start tomorrow. And then that's over. It's over. It's behind you. We're moving on. Start tomorrow. Start tomorrow. I want to think, too, sometimes we lose that connection without our consent because we don't even realize that it's happening. And then how many times have you been scrolling? Be honest. How many times have you been on social media doing something else you realize you'd be like, dog, I done watched 37 videos.
Exactly.
And you didn't even realize you were just going to look at one thing on your phone and you end up looking at that someone sent you and you end up looking at 20 things on your phone. And at that time, it may not seem important, but then you rushed trying to do some of the other things that's important in your day.
Wow, it's just amazing to me how all of these things connect because we've talked about before waking up with purpose. And if you wake up with purpose, I guarantee you 20 minutes of scrolling on your phone first thing in the morning wasn't on the list of things you were going to do.
Right. And that's why I said it's sometimes it's stolen without your consent.
Yeah.
Because you've consented to do something different and then that's gone. It just gets evaporated into the day. And it's not a bad thing as in you set out to do it.
No, it wasn't intentional.
But just be mindful of it. Another one is the I, and that's ignored presence. So when we think about time stealing or things that are how time is being misused in a relationship, ignoring presence. And that's, you're in the room, but your mind is miles away. Like I'm talking to you about my day or something and you're doing something else. Or I can say in the middle of it, then the donkey ran and jumped over the moon and you're like, oh, okay, that was good.
Well, that goes all the way back to the beginning when we talked about what's your hurry. When you say, you want your wife just to get to the point and you just ask the basic question, what's your hurry? What else do you have to do that's so important? Question. So that's why all of these things connect. That's why we continue to encourage you that if there's something here that you're getting something out of it, to share it with somebody. We want to make it a difference. We want to make a difference. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm thinking a little bit about that with the ignored presence, because a lot of times we think that we are giving a person what they need or what they want by sitting your body in a space. But if your body is in a space, but no other part of you is here, you can stay out the space as far as I'm concerned, because it's a waste of time. If you're not going to be present, then you don't be present. But don't pretend to be present and you sit here and you just like stare at your phone or you're staring at TV and there's still no conversation happening. There's still nothing happening between the two of us. It's like you're checking a box.
This is kind of disturbing when you think about it. Because
it is. It's very disturbing.
When you talk about being your authentic self, I think that's revealed in what you spend your time in. Because if you're just concerned about being there, you're not really interested in connecting, and then this relationship being significant and important, it makes a difference.
So let me ask you this question. If there is something that is scheduled or something that should be happening, and you show up
Mm-hmm.
Is that to prove a point, or is that to actually do what was scheduled to be done?
I think it depends on where you are in your process, because everybody's
Okay.
going to be in a different spot.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they've never shown up, but now they're at least showing up, you got to give them a pat on the back for the showing up. But we want you to continue to get better. We want you to continue to improve. We want you to engage. We want you to be present. So for me, I think it just depends on where you are in your relationship.
So yeah, and I honor your response. I appreciate that, but I disagree with that.
Okay.
Because at what point do we stop raising you to do a better job about what it is that we've agreed to do? So I don't think that I should have to suffer while you continue to half navigate. And I call it half navigate because it's something we've talked about and you've agreed to it.
Mm-hmm.
So if we've talked about it and you've agreed to it and this is what we're going to do, then you kind of showing up. It's not you doing this, you checking the box. And I think that's where sometimes there's this deep frustration that happens within relationships, because it's like now you're doing it to put a check in a box as opposed to doing it because this is something that we agree would be helpful for our relationship. And when that happens, it breeds resentment, because it's like, don't just come and sit here because we said we would do something,
right?
But then you don't open your mouth to say anything, or you don't participate in anything that's going on.
And I can see your point there. I understand where you're coming from. In addition to, and not instead of.
Gotcha.
There's individuals who that's their liability. And so we've talked about before extending grace. And so I think you have to be extremely reflective in that moment. You have to say, this is what they're not doing. But if we reflected on everything that I'm not doing, or that I should do better, or things that I've committed to and I'm not following through, I think we've talked about reflection before and how important that was on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to really be willing to extend that individual the grace. And we operate in time. So we've talked about that before too. And so we operate in time. We want things to happen at a particular time and space. But once again, I think it goes back to where you are in the relationship and how they're progressing. And then once again, just extending some grace in that area.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
I hear you. I do. Women, I'm standing up for us right now. So I need y'all to chime in, comment and say something so that I can try to get the voices that I've heard over time, get those heard.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying is, yes, I hear you. I certainly hear you. And I think once we start saying, well, think about what you didn't do. Now we're back in a tit for tat that has nothing to do with you accepting accountability and responsibility for what is happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
What that does is that then becomes, well, now look at you. Well, you remember you ain't do something in 1947 when you were supposed to do something. You ain't do it all the way right either. Or 2007 or 2025, right. Whatever. It could have been last week. But if you didn't address it then, don't use it as a weapon to excuse your behavior now. Like that to me is the biggest cop-out in the world, because again, that derails conversations, because what happened is now we got to go talk about what you should have said something about when it bothered you, as opposed to today when I mentioned to you that this bothers me. And that tears down a lot. That makes communication hard, because we can never go forward with what we're talking about, because you chose not to address something back then, and then you want to weaponize it now to get you off the hook for what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I wasn't saying that person shouldn't take accountability if they're not making progress in that area. I was really talking about the person who was that was noticing the deficiency, is that they should reflect on doing an internal list of the things that I've committed to and I haven't followed through with. So for me, it wasn't about saying or doing anything. Mm-hmm. It was about just being reflective about what I personally haven't done before I even say what somebody else has or has not done. So that's kind of where I was coming from.
Okay, that makes it hard, because yes, we all need to be reflective, but I think we can always I mean, there'll always be seasons where things were not done correctly. And you can always, so I get it in terms of extending grace. What I don't get it is in terms of excusing behavior.
No, absolutely.
So I'm comfortable with saying yes, be reflective and extend grace in that space. What I don't think is that one, it should be weaponized to excuse behavior. And I don't think it's an excuse for someone else to not do what they're supposed to do, because your behavior shouldn't be tied to what I do or don't do in that way, especially if it's something that you've committed to. So if I've committed to something, regardless of what's going on in that moment, I should follow through on what I said. And sometimes, you know what, let me ask this. Why does that even happen though? Is that like stubbornness? Is that like, I don't want to do it, I'm just going to do it? Like, what is that thing?
Well, and I think since we're talking about time, I think what we've learned to do is we've learned not to value the time. So if you just say, you know, this is the issue, this is what we talked about, and this is what's not happening, and then either it's a yes or a no. You know, this is what we said we were going to do, this is what's not happening, and always in my opinion. So this is what's not happening. Let's just deal with that. We talked about before, let's deal with what's on the table.
Yes.
Let's talk about that, and then if there's anything additional that we need to talk about, then that's a totally different subject. But let's deal with whether this is happening now or it's not happening.
Right.
And then we can say, okay, yes, it is. No, it's not.
Yeah.
And then at that point, now you have an opportunity to be accountable for what is or is not happening. And so prayerfully, the next time we come to this juncture, that thing will actually transpire.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
and we got stuck on I, because I is, so we're, again, the time acronym. The time acronym is what we're talking about.
Acronym time.
The acronym.
Time.
The acronym time.
Yes.
And we're talking about how time is misused or sometimes mishandled or misunderstood in relationships. So that I was ignored presence. The M is missed moments.
Yes.
So missed moments, walking past opportunities for intimacy, affection, and affirmation, choosing to scroll instead of hugging in the hallway.
Yes.
And, you know, missed moments happen. They're not always physical moments. Sometimes there's missed moments to ask questions. There's missed moments to show concern. There's missed moments to engage in ways that would show a deeper connection.
Right.
There are missed moments for cues in conversation to be curious. And, you know, one of my big things is you have to remain curious about your partner because your partner is ever changing. So as you're maturing, you're growing, and a lot of people grow old, but they don't grow up. So as things change in a relationship, you have to be mindful of the moments that pass you by because you're not guaranteed another moment.
Right, right. And then as we continue to talk about time, you won't ever have that opportunity again.
Absolutely.
And so you want to make sure that you're seizing all opportunities and then that you're valuing having the opportunity. And so that's why those are really important, those missed moments. And we think about that. There's not a single person that can't relate to a moment that they wish they had done something different.
Yeah. And I think that that's important to think about because, yes, you can't go back. You'll never be able to replay a moment. Even if you recreate it, it's going to be recreated. It's not going to be the authentic, the initial time. So be mindful of that when you're having conversation or when you're missing moments, because there may just be a moment to just say, hey, come here for a second. You haven't hugged me today, or I haven't hugged you or I need a hug. I need a hug. Hey, come here. And
we're not trying to condemn anybody or cause you to be resentful about things that have transpired. Just like you said earlier, today's an opportunity to reset.
Oh, yeah.
So just reset right now and say, okay, going forward, I'm not going to intentionally miss any moments. I'm going to be aware of what I'm doing.
Yes.
And I'm going to make sure that every day that I'm doing something that's going to identify how much I value this opportunity.
Yeah, there was the other day you came into my office, I was working on something and you came in and you sat down and I just closed my computer. And I closed my computer just to demonstrate, because in the past you've said, I just keep working and keep looking and don't look up when something goes on. And that was very true. I wouldn't. I would keep going and I got you. I hear you. And I'm taking notes and I could be taking notes on what you're saying, but it still didn't give you the pause.
The feedback, yeah.
Yeah. So what I did the other day, I didn't say, look, I did say started doing, but I only did it a few times so far, so I'm not mastered yet. But what I did in that moment is I just closed the computer down and I just stared at you. And that was to say, there is nothing else between what it is that you're saying or what it is that you're saying or not saying and what I'm doing right now. So let's remove that barrier so that doesn't create anything in your head around past behaviors or anything. Let's just shut that down very quickly and then move on and have a conversation. The next one is empty exchanges.
The last element of this acronym in time, empty exchange, talking logistics instead of life. Your conversations become transactional.
And that is so huge because again, it goes back to conversational intelligence, but I want us to be mindful that when we have these empty exchanges, it's about logistics. It's about the stuff like, did you get some bread? Yeah, I got some. It's in the kitchen. Did the light bill come in? Yeah. How much was it? Oh, that's okay. And that's the extent of your conversation. And there is nothing intimate about talking about the light bill.
Correct.
It's nothing intimate about having a conversation around, did you pick up some chicken or did you pick up some plant-based meat for you or whatever. But did you do that? There's nothing romantic about that. That is really about the exchange that happens to run the business part of the relationship.
Right.
And a lot of times we get so stuck in the business part that the other part just fizzles.
I was just reminded of, or just sitting here thinking about when people have had situations where there's been a tragedy or there's been a loss, generally they remember the last thing that they talked about. And so, I mean, I don't want to be morbid in this situation, but
that's not morbid. That's truth.
If you would just think about, if this is my last opportunity, I don't want to miss this moment to tell this person that I love them or to touch them or whatever the case may be. And so we just can't emphasize enough how important those 86,400 seconds are every day that you get. And make sure that you're using them effectively.
Yeah, and use them effectively because that's it. You do have an opportunity to use them, so use them effectively and make sure that you're getting to the point when you can. That doesn't mean that you have to dismiss the other things that are going along in life, but there are ways. There was one of the ladies that we know shared something the other day, and she asked, what does it take for him to hold my hand when he's talking to me? I'll even take him holding my hand if he's fussing, when he's fussing. And if that is not a cry for some sort of connection that is missing, I don't know what is. She's like, I'm willing to even take when he's fussing if he would just hold my hand. So I told her, grab his and see what happens.
Well, sometimes that'll deprogram the brain if you do something different. If you reach out and touch, kind of shuts down whatever is happening in that moment. Yeah. So that's a good strategy.
All right. So we talked, what I want to do is we're going to leave you with 3 quick tools and then your reflection and your challenge for the week. So let's do this really quickly so we can get on out of here. The first tool, 3 tools to redeem your rhythm. And that's our goal because remember, we're talking about having a rhythm in your time. Yes, you got to spend some of those seconds at work. Yes, you got to spend some of those seconds doing other things that may be transactional, things you need to talk about this business. But what are you spending those other things on? So let me give you 3 tools really quick. The first is the 3-hour night challenge. And that's the one that we talked about. I said I would mention to you a little bit later. So it's here. Let's talk about it now. The 3-hour night is set up like this. It's 1 hour to do whatever chores you have, whatever things you have to do, wrapping up the end of your workday, whatever it is. You spend 1 full hour closing that out. Doesn't mean you get done, but when 60 minutes hits, then you're done. You're done. You have to pick it up the next day. The next hour is spent in connection. And that connection is for you to have some conversation around some things that you need to connect on. It could be asking about the day. It could be having some conversation about deeper things like, how are you feeling? I noticed that you had a doctor's appointment last week. We talked about it, but how are you feeling this week? Has it gotten any better? Is there anything else that is there anything I can do to help? What are some of those things that you're experiencing? So things that get you beyond the transactional kinds of conversation. And the last one is for you two to recharge. So do something fun together. Do something fun in that last hour. I know the other night we pulled out Uno cards. I was just like, okay, let's play Uno. Let's just play Uno. It was random. Just random, like we're playing Uno tonight. Let's just get the cards and play Uno. And we spent time doing that. So it doesn't need to be anything expensive. It doesn't need to be anything hard. Get out some spades cards and talk noise to each other about spades. Play dominoes. Do whatever it is. But something to recharge you that's fun so you can end your night in laughter, in your night in fun together. And then go to bed. Another one is calendar the fun. Don't just schedule your task, but why don't you schedule your togetherness? Not just your task, but don't just schedule your task. Let me say that again so you can hear me. Don't just schedule your task, schedule your togetherness. What about that? Put it on your calendar. Put it on your calendar that one day a week, this is what we're doing, and nothing interferes with that. Nothing interferes with that. We have date night on one night a week. This week, I think, is the first time that it's going to be interfered with in a way because I have to be out of town this week and I have to travel on Tuesday. But with that being the case, we're going to have to do date night tonight. Surprise. Or something, because we don't want to miss the rhythm of the week. And but other things don't conflict with that. I've gotten off meetings and been like, okay, y'all, I got to go because it's date night and I got to go. So sorry, see y'all tomorrow. So you have to make sure that becomes a priority. And the last one is time block the marriage. Treat each other as an uncancelable appointment.
Mm-hmm. That's important because that shows that they're a priority. That time with them matters. So right back to the initial theme, which is time.
You cannot. This is an appointment that you can't cancel. So with that being said, those are the things that we want you to do. And let's go ahead to the challenge.
All right. Closing challenge. Choose one time theft or time thief to eliminate and one time ritual to add to your week.
Yep.
And we should have led with that.
I know, that's it. But let's get it. Choose one time thief to eliminate. So think about the things that are stealing your time. We talked about some of those. Think about those things that are stealing your time and keeping you from being able to engage in the relationship, and then get rid of it. Like just think if you think of 5, get rid of 1. Then next week, add another one.
Right.
But figure out get rid of 1 and then schedule that thing that we just talked about. Add one thing to your week that you may not have in your week right now that could make a difference.
Yeah, that's why you need to hold on to the end of this thing too, because that will change your life right there.
Yeah.
If you find one thief to eliminate and one time ritual to add this week, you're going to add value to your week.
Yeah, you're going to add value to your relationship.
Yes.
Well. So,
ready to wrap this thing up?
Let's wrap it up, sir.
All right. So this has been Dinner for Two, where love, life, and healing are always on the menu.
All right. See you next week.
See you next week.